So our book represents an attempt to summarize everything that's known about the archaeology and prehistory of Morro Bay, which is an estuarine embayment on the central coast of California. It's known mostly for this massive volcanic plug that you see behind me on the screen. And this was noticed by Spanish seafarers passing by the coast in ships very early on. However, the estuary itself that lies behind what's today known as Morro Rock was not discovered until 1769 by Europeans. However, estuaries like this one were magnets for prehistoric occupation. And there are at least 30 of these systems that are big enough to harbor their own unique estuarine flora and fauna that exist along the California coast that were occupied as far as 10,000 years ago in the past. Estuaries like Morro Bay were magnets for prehistoric occupation. There's a couple of things about Morro Bay in particular and these systems in general that we try to emphasize in this book. First of all, the fact that these are incredibly diverse environments. They represent interfaces between the land and the sea, of course, but then also interfaces between saltwater and freshwater. So these environments harbored a tremendous diversity of resources available to prehistoric hunter-gatherers. The other thing that we emphasize is the fact that these were dynamic environments over time. That is, that they tended to change with rising sea levels and in response to climatic variation. And what we were able to establish about the Morro Bay system in particular in this book, there's evidence for its presence as early as about 8,000 years ago. However, there's a suggestion of a paleoestuary west of the present day Morro Bay embayment that would have existed in the late Pleistocene that's been covered up by sea level rise. The current system is established by 8,000 years ago, and from that point onward, people were exploiting it to collect oysters and clams and cockles, to fish, to hunt seabirds and marine mammals. And that pattern continued pretty much over the next 8,000 years. However, at the beginning of what we call the middle period, 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, there seems to have been some kind of environmental perturbation in the bay, and it was temporarily abandoned. When it reestablished itself about 1,000 years ago, we see another change, and that is a tremendous increase in fishing. And it appears that Morro Bay provided a refuge during droughts of the medieval period when terrestrial productivity had gone down, and in response, people were able to exploit this really, really rich fishery within the estuary. After the droughts abated, we see the return of a more diverse subsistence system up until about 1769. And there was one native village noted by the Spanish in the vicinity of Morro Bay in 1769, and we have not yet been able to associate it with an archaeological site, and that's research that reflects the sort of ongoing need to continue to investigate this environment and its archaeological